And back to our breaking news story here on RT. Now, authorities in Indonesia are searching for a Russian passenger plane after all communications with the aircraft were lost mid-flight. Let's now get the latest from RT's Priya Sridhar, standing by for us live in New Delhi. Priya, it has been several hours now since contact with the plane was lost. Any news on what actually happened?
No, Rory, the Indonesian authorities are still searching for the Russian Sukhoi SuperJet-100. We're actually hearing that a Russian-led interstate aviation team is also going to be flying to Jakarta to assist with that search. The plane had 50 passengers on it and disappeared off the radars after a demonstration flight in Jakarta today. It's already gotten dark over there. The visibility is bad. We're hearing that there's fog. So the search has actually stopped as far as helicopters looking for the airplane, and it's been restricted to a ground search as of right now. The helicopters are expected to take off again to look for that plane in the early morning hours as soon as there is sunlight. The plane went missing 20 minutes into the demonstration. Members of the crew actually spoke to aviation officials and asked if they could descend, and that was the last that anyone heard from anybody on the plane. There are unconfirmed media reports that two people that were on the plane, you can see that they are online somehow, but no one has been able to reach anybody on that plane as of right now. We actually got a chance to catch up with the press secretary of the United Aircraft Corporation, which is the company that actually made the Russian Sukhoi SuperJet-100. So let's take a little listen to what she had to say.
The Sukhoi SuperJet-100 was conducting its second demonstration flight in Indonesia. The first flight went without a hitch. Both flights were carried out from the same airport in Jakarta. Before the second flight, the plane underwent required maintenance and was technically in good order. According to information from Indonesian authorities, communication with the plane was lost 20 minutes into the flight at 2:35 p.m. local time. Right now, the search is on for the plane and a crisis group has been formed.
We also have a picture from a man that was supposed to be on that airplane today. He has a picture of the flight's path. It seems that the plane circled the mountain once, then began a second flyby, but suddenly changed course, headed south, and that's when no one has been able to track down the airplane since then. We're also learning more information about the 50 people who were on the plane. The pilot of that plane is a Russian pilot, 57 years old, very experienced. He has flown 45 different types of aircraft. There were 8 Russian citizens on the plane, 2 Italians, 1 French citizen, and 1 American. Most of the passengers were Indonesian. A lot of the passengers were from several of the major airline companies that were there to test the jet's performance. This was the second half-an-hour demonstration that was happening today. The plane had previously been in Pakistan, Kazakhstan, and Myanmar, and was set to head to Laos and Vietnam next.
Priya, any information from the aviation and/or rescue officials in Jakarta about the possible causes for the plane's disappearance?
No information just yet. Obviously, you know, the investigators are still out there trying to figure out exactly what happened. It seems as though it could have been a human error that caused whatever could have happened. We actually talked to a pilot who has experience flying in this very rough mountainous area, and here's what he had to say about flying there.
I used to fly in Jakarta. It has a very difficult terrain. There's a mountain 6,158 feet high. It's very difficult. We study this because we're professionals. The pilot must have seen the mountain because the plane is very modern. It's equipped with all the latest aviation equipment. The most likely cause is a human factor or error of some kind, but the investigation will establish the exact cause.
So obviously, you know, as he just pointed out and I pointed out earlier, this was a very mountainous region. There was a mountain very close to the airplane when it fell off the radar. So there is some speculation that perhaps it could have crashed into the mountain. But obviously, the authorities and when the investigation is complete will know the real answer.
Obviously, Priya, there's a lot of speculation at this point, though we do understand this Sukhoi SuperJet-100 is the latest cutting-edge technology, the fly-by-wire system. Some saying it should be the envy of the aviation industry. Have there been any problems in the past that you know of with the Sukhoi Superjets?
No problems in the past, Rory. This is the first passenger plane that was built in Russia after the Soviet Union, and it's a joint venture between many countries. There are parts from this plane that were sent from France, the US, the UK, Germany, and Switzerland and Italy as well. The first model of the plane was unveiled in 2007. The first test flight was in 2008, and the first passenger flight was just last year in 2011. There haven't been any problems with the plane, but only a dozen of this type of plane have actually been built so far. There have been orders from around the world, including in Russia, for this plane, actually 170 orders so far. There's already a dozen that are under construction, and Indonesia actually signed a $380 million deal in August for this plane, which is part of the reason that the plane was doing these demonstrations today.
All right, RT's Priya Struder there live in New Delhi. Thank you. Now, the SuperJet-100 is the first civil aircraft designed and manufactured entirely in Russia since the collapse of the Soviet Union. It's a joint project of the Russian aviation giant Sukhoi, Europe's Superjet International, and several dozen other companies. The plane was meant to offer a whole new dimension of technology and comfort, eclipsing its outdated Soviet rivals. It features a fully electronic fly-by-wire system as opposed to the manual flight controls, and is equipped with a built-in failure detection system. Aside from its cutting-edge technology, the Superjet is cost-efficient to run due to its lighter weight, reduced fuel consumption and lower maintenance costs. The plane belongs to the regional class, but is designed to effectively operate on a number of mainline routes. Meantime, a Russian blogger, Sergei Dolya, who was initially supposed to be on board the missing Superjet, reports online from Jakarta. He's also providing us with the latest pictures from the region. Just a bit earlier, we here at RT spoke with him via telephone.
The authorities are searching for the plane. A helicopter has just returned but says there's no trace of it. Rescuers are looking at the maps, trying to determine where it could be. I have been aboard this plane. I flew here on board it. There were 2 flights. The first one was fine. It lasted 30 minutes, then we came back. The plane was checked over and it was fine. The second flight should have also lasted for 30 minutes. I could have been on it again, but I stayed back because I wanted to film it from the ground. This was a demonstration flight for an Indonesian aircraft company that wanted to buy 12 such planes. We have already been on this plane in Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Myanmar. The next stops would have been Laos and Vietnam.
Now, here at RT, we are following the breaking news that a brand new Russian passenger plane has gone missing. Authorities in Jakarta searching for the aircraft after all communications were lost mid-flight. For more on this now, we're joined by the Operations and Safety Editor for Flight Global, David Learmount, live from London. Good to see you today. Thank you for coming on RT at such short notice. You are a safety and operations expert. What can you tell us about the safety standards of this plane in particular?
Well, this is a very modern aeroplane. It's built according to very exacting modern standards. And I can assure you that no aircraft of this standard just suddenly, when it's still very new, as it is just going to fall out of the sky. I think the most helpful way of trying to understand what might have happened here is to remember exactly what it's doing in Indonesia. It's on Indonesia on a demonstration tour of the world, showing off to potential customers just what a good airplane this is and just how clever it is and how far you can take it. Of course, because that was the reason for the tour, this is a massive embarrassment to Sukhoi. But it was a display flight. It was a demonstration flight. Demonstration flights, sometimes the pilots or the crews deliberately take the aircraft right to their limits, and they do that sometimes when the aircraft is quite close to the ground. That's what a demonstration flight is often like. Sometimes They pushed the limits just too far, and that might have happened.
All right, as you're suggesting here, so it's unlikely that it was a technical failure with such a brand new cutting-edge, state-of-the-art aircraft, and possibly, of course, speculation at this point, the pilots could have been doing some sort of daring maneuver to show off what the aircraft is capable of. But how long does it usually take, though, for a plane to move from demo flights to commercial service? Is it possible the aircraft was simply not ready to fly at this point?
No, this aircraft the aircraft type, the Sukhoi SuperJet, is in commercial service at the moment. It's flying fare-paying passengers in the Russian Federation at the moment, and it has been doing that, for about a year now. So it's in service. I think this is to say this is a demonstration flight, it's a sales tour, it's a sales demonstration. Basically, it's really rather like, I don't know, to take an automotive equivalent, taking a potential customer out for a spin in a car when the customer's turned up at your car sales room. And when you take a spin, especially if it's a high-performance machine, you expect to see that machine going through its paces. So the driver of the car, if I continue the analogy, is going to throw it around a little bit so that you can see just how clever it is, how good it is. The only thing is that if you think back through many years of air displays, and air displays are not just for the amusement of the public, though it is a lot of fun to watch them, but if you think back over the years of air displays, the number of accidents that take place at air displays purely because the aircraft are being shown off right up to the edges of their flight envelope. And that therefore makes them very much higher risk sorties than a commercial flight.
All right, if we can for a moment, let's address the region where the plane was flying. It's in the area of Jakarta, certainly some mountainous areas right there near the airport. It's alleged the plane disappeared about 32 miles or so away from the airport. When a plane like this is doing, as you're saying, a bit of an expose flight, does it carry a full load of fuel, or is it a smaller load of fuel? Because some people are saying the plane may have been hijacked. Some are saying excessive use by the pilots. Some are saying it could have run out of fuel. What kind of option would you go for as to what's actually happened here, apart from your scenario saying it could have been a pilot pushing the plane to the max?
Well, I can tell you it wasn't any of the other scenarios you suggested to me. It's not running out of fuel. That aircraft, we know, had at least 3 hours and possibly 4 hours of fuel on board. The other thing is that, we're talking about highly professional test pilots on board this aircraft. People like that don't just let an airplane run out of fuel. So I think you can rule that one out. Hijack? Like who? Why? What's the motivation of being on that? It's not a commercial flight, this one. It's a demo flight. No, I think you can rule that one out. Mountainous terrain? Well, yes. If there are mountains there, a pilot isn't going to run into them if he can see them. If the mountains are in cloud, the pilot still knows they're there. And this aircraft has a terrain warning system on it. So although I wouldn't say that the aircraft hasn't come down near the high terrain, using the high terrain as an excuse for an accident in an aircraft as well equipped as that, I think is a bit far-fetched. I think I'll stick to my theory, and remember it is only a theory, it's certainly not a cause yet, but we'll find out quite soon what the cause was. But just because demonstration flights have come to grief so often in the past, if I were to put my money on the cause of this one, that's where I'd put it.
Now, Mr. Lehman, I do apologise. We are running very, very low on time here. But briefly, if you would answer this, do you consider this, whatever has happened here, I understand it's speculation, but a possible slap in the face of Sukhoi's new Superjet?
Yes, it is. It's highly embarrassing. But then on the other hand, we will know the answer very, very soon. And if it does turn out to be the fact that the crews simply were pushing their luck too far, then Sukhoi will regain face.
Live from London, Operations and Safety Editor for the aviation news website Flight Global, David Learmount, thank you very much for coming on RT.